I used to think that stories of sudden life-changing love were reserved for books, movies, and other people's lives. Not mine. My life was predictable, steady, and carefully managed in every way. I had lived in Chicago for over a decade, working as a communications manager at a mid-sized firm. My friends often described me as reliable, practical, maybe even a little too serious. And in truth, I wore that description like armor. I had been through my share of disappointments, heartbreaks, and moments where I wondered if the dreams I once carried would ever come true. Romance? I had locked that door years ago and thrown away the key. But everything changed one afternoon in New York City. I had flown in for a 3-day conference on corporate leadership. The city pulsed with energy the moment I stepped off the plane. Taxis honking, people moving quickly with purpose, and the skyscrapers towering above me as if to remind me that dreams were bigger here. I checked into my hotel, went over my presentation notes, and promised myself I'd keep the trip strictly professional. No distractions. No emotions. Just work. The next morning, during a networking session, my eyes met someone across the room. He was standing near the coffee table, speaking with 2 colleagues. Something about his presence drew me in. Confident yet approachable, professional yet warm. His name tag read, Daniel Carter, Denver, Colorado. Our eyes met briefly, and he smiled politely. I told myself not to read too much into it. After all, in conferences like these, people meet and forget each other within days. Still, something lingered. Later that day, fate had its way. My laptop froze just minutes before my presentation. I was near panic, trying to restart it, when Daniel appeared at my side. "Need a hand?" he asked. His voice was calm, steady, reassuring in a way I didn't realize I needed. He was in IT leadership, and within minutes, he had my computer running again. I managed to give my presentation smoothly, but I couldn't stop thinking about his quiet act of kindness. That evening, as the conference hosted a casual dinner at a rooftop venue overlooking Manhattan, I found myself standing alone, taking in the glittering skyline. And there he was again. Daniel approached with 2 glasses of sparkling water. "I figured you'd prefer this over another coffee," he said with a playful smile. I laughed. He had noticed how many cups I'd had that morning. We started talking. About work, yes, but then about books, travel, and family. I was surprised at how easy it felt. Usually, I kept conversations light and polite. But with him the words flowed. Over the next 2 days, we crossed paths again and again. Sometimes by accident, sometimes, if I'm honest, on purpose. We had breakfast together before the final day's keynote. He told me about his life in Denver, his love for hiking in the Rockies, and how he was rebuilding after leaving a long career in one company to start fresh. I shared how I had settled into Chicago, balancing my job with volunteering at a local literacy program. We laughed at small things, debated over favorite authors, and encouraged each other in ways that felt unexpected. By the end of the conference, I felt something I hadn't in years: hope. But when it was time to part ways, reality struck. I returned to Chicago, he flew back to Denver, and we exchanged nothing more than a polite goodbye and a promise to connect on LinkedIn. Part of me thought that would be the end of it. After all, people meet at conferences all the time and then fade back into their separate worlds. But just 2 days later, I received a message. It was from Daniel. "I can't stop thinking about our conversations in New York. Would you be open to a call sometime this week?" My heart raced. I stared at the screen, debating. I had been so careful to avoid this, careful not to let anyone close again. And yet before I could overthink, my fingers typed back, "I'd like that." That first phone call stretched for 2 hours. Then came another the next night. Soon, our evenings were filled with conversations. Sometimes light and funny, sometimes deep and vulnerable. Distance didn't seem to matter as much as the connection we were building. Weeks passed, and one Friday evening, Daniel suggested we meet halfway. "How about Kansas City?" he asked. "It's between Chicago and Denver. A short flight for both of us." I hesitated, but eventually agreed. When we met again in person, everything we had built over the phone seemed to click naturally in real life. We spent the weekend exploring the city, walking along the river, and simply enjoying the ease of being together. What surprised me most was how safe it felt. There was no pressure, no pretense. Just honesty. He admitted he had been hesitant to reach out after the conference, worried I might not feel the same. I confessed how I had nearly given up on love altogether. By the end of that weekend, I knew this wasn't just chance. It was something real. Over the next months, our story unfolded with patience and care. We visited each other's cities, introducing one another to friends, showing favorite neighborhoods, and slowly weaving our lives together. Chicago's busy streets became familiar to him, while Denver's mountain trails opened up a new world for me. Every time we parted, it grew harder to say goodbye. The turning point came one evening in Denver, as we sat watching the sun dip behind the Rockies. Daniel turned to me and said, "You know, I never believed something like this could happen to me. I wasn't even looking for it. But you changed everything." His words struck me deeply, because they mirrored my own feelings. I had been so sure my story was already written, that love wasn't in my future. Yet here we were, rewriting everything together. Our journey wasn't about whirlwind drama or fairy tale perfection. It was about small acts of kindness, unexpected courage, and the willingness to believe again. Love didn't arrive in a grand gesture. It arrived quietly, persistently, in ways I never expected. Now, when I look back, I realize that one conference, one broken laptop, and one stranger's smile altered the course of my life. And I know without a doubt that I will never again say, "It could never happen to me." Because it did. And it changed everything.